After being discovered unconscious in her home, a woman slipped into a deep coma. As doctors prepared to disconnect her life support, her husband leaned in and revealed a shocking truth, thinking she would never hear it. But she could, and what he said ignited a fight within her that no one saw coming. Lindy Brown Pelletier Swap was only 45 years old when her son Stephen found her unconscious in their Arizona home. He immediately called 911, and Lindy was rushed to Banner Del Webb Medical Center. For 5 days, Lindy suffered from seizures before eventually falling into a coma, where she remained for 12 days, according to the Mirror. Lindy's husband, Steve, her daughter, Amanda, and her son, Stephen, clung to hope for a miracle. But doctors eventually delivered devastating news. There was nothing more they could do and recommended taking Lindy off life support. The difficult decision to pull the plug was made, honoring what the family believed were Lindy's wishes. My family knows I'm an avid organ donor, so when my organs started to fail, they made the decision, Lindy would later explain. As Lindy's family gathered to say their goodbyes, they had no idea that Lindy could hear every word. I remember people talking to me, Lindy recalled. I remember when people came to visit, my niece reading to me. She also remembered the doctors discussing her impending death and telling the family what to expect as her body shut down. Doctors told my family that I would start to make noises when they turned off life support. It was very agitating. I couldn't move, talk, or respond. I could only hear the conversations around me and about me, Lindy shared. She vividly remembered a doctor opening her eyes, checking her reflexes, and telling her family there was no response, but Lindy knew she had to speak up to save her life. She tried to communicate but failed. In my head, it was very clear what I was saying, but it wasn't clear to them, she explained. Then, she found the motivation she needed in the words her husband whispered in her ear. Thinking she was about to leave his life forever, Steve leaned down and spoke from the heart. They removed all the tubes, as he requested, Lindy recalled, adding that a doctor was waiting to pronounce her dead, while an organ donation team stood by, ready to take her organs. But Steve wasn't ready to lose his wife. In a whisper, he pleaded with her, reminding her of a truth she was about to make everyone else aware of. After 12 days in a coma, Lindy woke up, uttering 3 words that left her family in shock. "I'm a fighter," she said. Lindy explained that her husband's whispered words gave her the strength to push through. "I was finally able to get out. I'm a fighter, which is what my husband was whispering in my ear," she shared. Stunned, Steve immediately called for the doctor. "She's doing everything you said she wouldn't do," he told them. Against all odds and medical predictions, Lindy was awake and responsive. Amanda, her daughter, arrived at the hospital, expecting to say goodbye to her mother for good. Instead, she received the shock of her life. "I looked at her, and she just says, 'Hi.' I fell to my knees," Amanda tearfully recalled. Lindy eventually left the hospital, but her journey was far from over. Despite her miraculous recovery, she faced a long road to healing. She had to relearn basic tasks like walking and feeding herself. "They released me with home healthcare so I could continue learning everything," Lindy said. She also endured multiple follow-up surgeries, hospitalizations, and even PTSD from the traumatic experience. Nearly 2 years later, Lindy Brown Pelletier Swap still has no answers about why she first fell unconscious or how she managed such an incredible recovery. But one thing is certain, she wants others to understand an important truth. Just because you're not conscious doesn't mean you can't hear, she emphasized. You should talk to your loved ones in that situation. They hear you. Her family took away a profound lesson from the experience. Life can change in an instant, her son Stephen reflected. One day, everything seems fine, and the next, your world is turned upside down. He shared how it shaped his perspective on family. "I don't take for granted that I get to come home and hug my mom. Every day after work, I make sure to see her and talk to her," he said. Stephen encouraged others to do the same. Go hug your loved ones, tell them you care, remind others to do it too, because you never know when it might be your last chance.